Welcome to India, Mr.
Thank
Spielberg, and thank you for being with us today. Obviously, this isn't your very first visit to India, is it?
No, I've been here several times before, but it's been 30 years since I've been back to India. I was here, the last time was in 1983.
Were you making films then?
Yes, Temple of Doom, and I was here on my own, backpacking through the country. But I started here in 1977, and I shot a very small scene from my movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind in a very small town, about 3-hour drive outside of Bombay.
What was it that impressed you most about India at that point of time, when you were backpacking?
I think that people were welcoming of a foreigner, that they would invite me to eat with them. They would invite me to stay with them. They didn't know who I was. It was after I had made Jaws, and after certainly Close Encounters came out. It was so great that nobody knew who I was. I remember that as being one of the happiest moments of my life. The relative anonymity of just traveling through India.
Is that something surprising for you, or is that something that isn't very prevalent in?
No. There's no anonymity there. You know, you can be an actor in one television show that everybody watches, and that's the end of your privacy. It's over.
Yeah. Mr. Spielberg, you started off very early in your life. I believe as a child you once took an 8mm camera and made your first film with your mother being in the star cast.
Yes.
What inspired you to do that?
Well, for one thing, the first time I picked up a movie camera was because I was wrecking my electric trains when I was about 12 years old. I was crashing the two trains into each other and making a complete mess, and sometimes the trains would break and my dad would have to take them back to the electric train store to get them fixed, and he told me if I ever broke my trains again, he would take the entire set away. And we had an 8mm Kodak movie camera. And I remember coming home from school one day and setting up a couple of shots, and I photographed the trains crashing. And luckily the trains didn't break, but I had it on film. I got one train going left to right, then inside the camera I stopped, I put the camera on the other train, keeping the screen direction right, the other train going right to left. And I set the camera down, shooting straight out at the track, and both trains came together and crashed. And then what I wound up doing was looking at that piece of film, 90 seconds of film over and over and over again, and it satisfied my need for some reason to break things in those days. And in that sense, I discovered the power of cinema.
What is the deciding factor? Is business more important for you, or the emotional factor in a story?
No, the emotional factor in the story always trumps
Because
business.
you have been breaking the business barriers very often.
What calls to me is not whether a film is going to make $1 gazillion. What calls to me is there a deep urge in the center of myself that only that film will release and then exorcise. And that's the only condition I'll direct a movie. If I'm doing a sequel, of course. If I'm doing The Lost World, The Secret of Jurassic Park, of course, I know that the bar's been raised, because if it doesn't make this X amount of money, everybody thinks it's a failure. And there's that added pressure of great expectation. The Indiana Jones series, they're not sequels, but on all the other 3 Indiana Jones films that I've directed, there's a tremendous level of expectation, and that's nerve-wracking.
Emotion is a great factor in the films that we make here in India. And are you aware of any of our work?
I'm not as aware as I should be sitting up here, being somebody with international claim. We don't have great access to Indian films in America. We don't have, like they do in other countries, you go to any country in Europe or Asia, and you go to a hotel, and there are channels, and each channel is based on a country.
Right. And
there's movies, and there's news, and there's culture, and there's commentary from each of the different countries. We don't have that in the U.S.
Why?
Commercial reasons. If something is not deemed to be commercial or to make a connection with a demographic or a certain demographic, it's not considered to be worth putting on the air. So that's why Robert Redford did such a wonderful thing by inventing the Sundance Channel. And we also have a channel called the Independent Film Channel. These are two very valuable channels because we expose films from offshore, often for the first time, to an American audience. But we don't have enough of those channels.
Right.
And we don't have enough countries represented on American television that would give a chance for people who love movies to see the movies that come out of India.